Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Auto Amateur. In this video, I'm going to be doing a quick review of 2020 and then talking about what the future holds for Auto Amateur in 2021. Let's go check it out. So I guess this is the last video of the year, or maybe the first video of the new year, depending on how you want to look at it. While I feel like I should acknowledge the disaster that 2020 has been, I'm here to keep it happy and positive. And I think on that note, I just want to say that this year has been the year of the content creator, at least for me. While most people have now finished Netflix and have watched everything that's available online, and there aren't as many shows coming out and there aren't as many movies coming out, I think we've all been reaching for new content creators. And I'd like to acknowledge some of those today. Now, of course, I am still watching Nick Murray, and I'm still watching Obsessed Garage and Ammo NYC and the Fast Car Lane. There are so many YouTube channels that I subscribe to and watch and love, but there have been some new content creators that have come out this year that I want to acknowledge. First, I'd like to acknowledge somebody I knew before 2020, and that's Michael Bath. His Porsche Cool podcast with his mate Steve has been one of the highlights this year. He started it just over a year ago, but I guess given the fact that his 997 is in Australia and he's elsewhere around the world, making videos isn't quite as practical as it used to be. So he's been putting his effort and his energy into the Porsche Cool podcast, and it's fantastic. Every Tuesday you get a listener story. Every Friday you get another episode with him and Steve kind of chewing the breeze about anything and everything to do with Porsche. His podcast has been fantastic. The other content creator to call out is a trio from the UK, Lee Sibley, who's also that 911 guy, and his channel's been blowing up recently. He's gone and doubled his subscribers in the past couple of months, which speaks to not only what a nice guy Lee is, but the quality of his content. But Lee and his friends Joe and Andy started a podcast called The Road to Redline. I think it was at the beginning of this year or at some point around the beginning of the year. That's another highlight of my week. They have interviews with folks like Magnus Walker, Pinky Lay from Porsche, folks inside the industry, and then just regular people like you and I who are car enthusiasts or Porsche owners. And their podcast is just a hoot, listening to the three of them talk, I guess now virtually around a microphone. That's been fantastic as well. And I think for many people as well, podcasts have become a lot more sort of accessible this year and certainly more popular in mainstream. Again, because we're all sort of craving something to I guess, capture our imaginations and help us all stay positive and motivated, given all of the stuff that's been going on this year. Videos, and let's face it, I have a podcast, don't put out as much content as other folks. I have a website, and I've got an Instagram, but my home is YouTube, and that's going to continue being my focus in the new year. So I also want to call out a couple of other YouTubers. Drew at Cool Collective, him and his friends continue to put out not only fantastic video content, but I've really got to give Drew a shout out for the quality of his photography and his prints. I have two of them behind me from I think 2 years ago now, but he continues to put out these incredible shots, which clearly have been photoshopped to one degree or another, or they've spent a bit of time in Lightroom. But the way he chooses the shots that he takes and the lighting and the backgrounds, it's just absolutely phenomenal. I kind of want to just completely plaster all of my walls in his content. So Drew, Cool Collective, big shout out to you, mate. Fantastic. And thank you for liking my stuff as well. That really makes me feel good about life. And then there's Andy from Melbourne, Australia, The Last Rasp. I've talked about Andy before. He and I have been on a podcast as well. He's relatively new to the Porsche world and YouTubing, but he's setting the bar pretty high right off the bat. Videos he put out are really informative, they're funny, the quality of the stuff that he shoots and the way he edits the content together, just really phenomenal. Andy, just keep doing what you're doing, absolutely awesome. And then last but not least, Jay Reed. Jay and I just recently did a Instagram Live. I came across Jay earlier this year. He bought a 996 in the summer, has been making some Porsche related videos and some other car related videos. Super nice guy. He and I have a bond because we're both originally from England. We're both gingers, and that's pretty much all we need to become best mates. We gingers have to stick together. So they've been some real highlights for me this year. Next up though, let's talk about some of my favorite mods and jobs and events that I've had with the 991 and the 996 sitting here.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
So, in first place, are these going to be in order of preference? Probably. In first place, it's probably Project 996. That has taken up a lot of time and effort and emotions and blood and sweat and tears this year. My friend Steve Pat and I started on this journey around the sort of April-May timeframe. It's well documented. I'm sure if you're watching this video, you're probably familiar with it already. The recent heartbreak of getting almost to the finish line, getting it out on the road, getting it on print. The drone videos I've watched about 100 times. We got to drive it for a day, and then unfortunately, something's gone wrong with the transmission and the engine, misalignment, something. But the transmission's cracked and the base of the engine's cracked. So I was hoping to draw a line under Project 996 this year. And even though I'm still here, lower lip quivering and really gutted that we haven't finished it, that's been one of the highlights of the year. And not just the car and all of the things we've done with the car, the ducktail, the paint job, the brake calipers, the wheels, you name it. It's been the fun of the friendship that we've developed. We were friends before this journey, but the fun of hanging out every Friday evening, working on the car together or over the weekends, ripping each other and taking the mick. It's been so much fun. That's been such a great adventure this year. Up in second place is probably one of the jobs that I've done with the 991. And although it started with removing the wrap, which I put on earlier this year, the blue wrap, which is not a job I'm going to remember for a good reason. That was just such a pain in the ass to take off. And in fact, you can't quite see it here, but I still have a little bit of blue on the handle, on the door handles, which I need to figure out. But it's been having a second crack at making style changes, which I really love doing to my cars. So with the blue out of the way, and I'm back to the agate gray, I've gone to put some red enhancements. Again, if you follow my channel, you know this. I've got the red gauge face on the sports Chrono, and I've got the red rev counter in the center of the instrument cluster. And I've also added a little red notch on the top of the steering wheel, which is still temporary. I haven't yet put the leather notch in. It's actually just a bit of tape. Classy. As well as the red seat belts. Those videos were loads of fun to make. I love how those little red accents inside look. So, that was fantastic as well. I'm really glad I've done that to the car. I think it feels like a new car again. Next up is probably the carbon fiber trim that I've added to the 991. That has been a lot of fun doing. I have the carbon fiber now across the front of the dash, underneath the instrument cluster and along across the glove box. It's around the center console, around the buttons and the gear shifter. Also, that's all OEM. I have the OEM carbon fiber door sills and some other trim elements in there as well. So the carbon fiber has been quite fun putting in. And it's one of those topics that people are either, like, yeah, awesome, that looks brilliant, or boo, that's awesome, awful, why are you wasting your money? It seems to create quite a polarizing reaction in the people that have been watching that content. So that's probably it from the jobs I've done. My favorite mods from the year. Actually, no, one more. And how could I forget to mention this one? My favorite thing about the car, beyond the fact that it's a Porsche 911, my Soul Performance exhaust. Yes, last year I put on the valved exhaust system and wired it into the PSE, the Porsche Sports Exhaust button. This year I finished off the exhaust by installing the long tube street headers down at Eurocharge in Minneapolis. So I now have a full end-to-end, wall-to-wall, top to bottom exhaust system, and it sounds wicked. It sounds so good. It's pretty much my favorite thing about the car. Now, other highlights from the year is probably the thing I tried to focus on intentionally right at the beginning of the year, and I talked about in my podcast as I started to get that up and running, and that was collaboration. I've tried really hard this year to sort of come out of my hermit shell a little bit. Believe it or not, I am slightly introverted. I don't often do a lot socially. This pandemic, in some respects, has been fantastic. I've spent so much time at home. My wife Ruthie is like, when can we go out and start going to restaurants again and parties? And I'm like, kind of happy here in my basement, watching TV or editing videos. Anyway, but I have tried to focus on collaborations. So I've had folks on my podcast, the likes of Lee Sibley from Total 911, Andy at Last Rasp, some other friends. I've done some podcasts with the folks at Soul Performance. On the video front, I've tried to feature other people's Porsches and not just my own. And they were probably some of my favorite videos to make so far in the 4 or 5 years now that I've been running the channel. I got to drive a GT3 this year, a GT3 RS, another GT3, so now a Gen 1 991 and a second Gen 991 GT3 with friends from the car community here in the Twin Cities. They were really fun to make. Hilariously, trying to drive my friend Costas's yellow 1977 Carrera S, claustrophobic. That didn't go too well, but he really enjoyed driving my car. So, there was a silver lining there. Having folks bring their cars into the garage, upgrading some of my mic equipment and using wireless mics and that sort of stuff, being able to do walkarounds. I've done 997 videos, 996, meeting my friend Robbie this year from the Porsches and Pancakes crew. He has 2 996s, featuring those in the garage and talking and spending time with the owners, socially distancing apart with the doors open and all that good stuff. They've been really fun videos to make as well. So with that, along comes 2021. And it's going to be more of the same in many ways. I have mods and maintenance that I want to be doing on the 991. There is, of course, this Project 996 car sat here that we need to finish. But I want to try and take the collaboration to the next level. I'm going to try and figure out how to make some content with Michael Bath and Nick Murray and Lee Sibley and Andy at Last Rasp. These folks I've been in touch with so far this year. We've had a blast making podcasts. We've had a blast sort of commenting on each other's Instagrams, but we've all been trying to talk about how we can make videos together, even though we're sort of spread all over the world. Kind of creating like a Marvel cinematic universe, the MCU, but for Porsche and for YouTubers. So we're going to try and get that off the ground. That's obviously going to take quite a lot of planning, but if you guys are like me in that you get excited for new content and fresh approaches to making videos and everything Porsche, I would be salivating for that kind of content. So I'm hoping that there's an interest out there for that sort of content. I'm also going to be trying to do more comparison videos, and we'll have to see how I can do that logistically given everything that's going on with the pandemic and lockdown restrictions and so on. But some of the most popular videos from the year and And I don't just mean in terms of the number of views, but just in terms of the amount of dialogue that I've had with people after putting out those videos has been the ones where I've compared the two generations of 997, or the 996 to the 997 and the 991. And so going back to that kind of concept and doing the Porsche 911 comparisons, seeing them in the garage, seeing them on the road, going through the specs, even creating like buyer's guides, which they exist, out there. It's not like I'm creating anything new, but it's going to be fun for me to learn more and more about these cars, and it's going to be fun to shoot them. It's going to be fun to hang out with the people that own them. So again, trying to raise the bar and push the envelope as far as collaborations go, that's where I see the future of Auto Amateur. It's about continuing to build the Porsche community that's already out there in my own kind of relatively unique way. And for me, the payoff is just continuing to make connections and friends with people around the country and around the world. And we all have the same thing in common. We love these cars. We love the brand. We love the experience from looking at them, from talking about them, from driving them, from wrenching on them. It's just, for me, an endless source of inspiration and motivation and gratitude and gratification. It's what I want to do with my spare time, and I'm going to continue doing it in the next year. Which leads on to the final topic, which is just a big thank you. Everybody that watches a video, that subscribes, that likes, that buys a t-shirt, that comments on the videos, which is the most important thing to me, commenting on the videos. It is so much fun getting to know you. It is so much fun listening to the funny comments, the jibs, the jibes, the positive feedback. I've had a lot of great suggestions on how to improve my videos this year, things to maybe do more of, things to do less of. I thought everybody was gonna love the comic book filter that I added to one of my videos. No, that went down like an absolute lead balloon. But thank you all for all your continued support and your encouragement and your comments. Keep it coming, it's just absolutely fantastic. And I think I said last point, but my final point is I'm gonna try and get my next viewer video going in the first quarter of the new year, so in the next couple of months. I've already had quite a few people sending me emails, contact@autoamateur.com, or replying to comments or go onto Instagram, what have you, that are interested in being featured in my next viewer video. You don't have to be a fantastic content creator. You can just stand by your car and talk about it. You can do a walk around. Some people have gone out and shot all sorts of really fantastic things, but if you like my channel, if you want to get involved, as well as commenting, this is a really great way to do it. Send me your ideas, send me your content. I'm going to lace it all together, and they've been really successful and a lot of fun. So that's another way to collaborate with you all. That's it. I'm done. End of the year. Happy New Year. Let's hope 2021 is going to be a good one. I hope you're all safe and healthy. I've got a third kid on the way, which is going to make life interesting in May. A girl as well, I've got to figure out how to do that. The boys though, it's all going fine. And by fine, I mean they're finally introduced to lightsabers and they love it. All right guys, take care. See you in the new year. Thanks for supporting me and thanks for supporting Auto Amateur. See you soon, bye.